Hello, Team Happy and Fit. Happy Thursday. I'm so used to saying Tuesday. I even said it earlier before recording this. It is our pop-up Zoom about our Diamond Leadership that we just had in Philadelphia. I just love that we get to focus on friendship, freedom, and fitness. I love that this business requires zero commute, but we get to see all these different places if you choose to be there. That's the thing. I remember my first event was besides Summit, it was Alpena, Michigan. And then another retreat that I went to was in Beaver Creek. And then another retreat was in Las Vegas. I just feel like I've been able to see so much of the United States because of this. And I had a thought as I was in Philly. I was like, most people hate work trips. This is a work trip, and I'm so excited about it. This work trip, this business retreat is going to help my business. I get to see my friends, and I get to be with my family. And I get to work out. How cool is that? You guys, that does not happen. And I just am super grateful that this opportunity legitimately helps improve every area of life, every role. I feel like sometimes people put so much an emphasis on the frustrations in the business and then therefore blame the business. Does that make sense? Like, my business is not moving forward, therefore I'm not making a paycheck, I'm done, and I'm just going to check out. That's not really how I see it. How I see it is that it improves my life and I can't quit that. I never made quitting an option. But then if I work, it works. This business isn't broken. And so when I try and I set goals and I show up, I just saw this thing in a DM or a story of D-Rock. His name is D-Rock, and he is Gary Vaynerchuk's right-hand man. He creates everything for Gary V. And someone asked him a question, and they said, how do I get more clients? And he said, send more DMs. Send more DMs. So for the people who are quitting and for the people who are burning out of this, the people who are frustrated with this, I think that they're scrolling and spending too much time on their phone. And then my mom literally said, Julianne, I think you should get another phone because we need to get a hold of you sometime. And I'm like, does that not show that I have boundaries? Like that I turn off all my notifications, that I'm not a slave to my phone, that I really believe that if you do the work and you're in and then you're out, it will not be a hassle. It won't be a burden. It is only enlightening and it's only going to change and transform lives. That's kind of my view on it. Okay. Before we get started, we have a sneak peek on Sunday. How it's going to be, it's old school. We used to do these. This is how I built my business. I use these sneak peeks on Facebook. I'm not even kidding. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live and I'm just going to share about our team, share about what it is that we do, and I'm going to share how you get started. It's really simple, really basic, but sometimes it's easier, or I don't even want to say easier, but for me, when I first started and when I was building my business, it seemed like Trina's words were better than mine. It seemed like when I had Sarah Morrison, she was able to convey the information in such a simple way instead of overcomplicating it. Does that make sense? So what I want to do for you on the sneak peek on Sunday is simplify this whole process. But you've got to do your job, and your job is to what? Get eyes to that video. Get eyes to that sneak peek group. People are not just going to show up to it. So make posts on your social media. Make posts on your stories about how you're having a virtual sneak peek and you would love for people to try it out, but then talk about why you love it, whatever. So anyway, Steph, you're amazing. That is so cool. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Let's go ahead and start with, I'm going down the line. Holly, let's start with you. What was first of all, so great to hug you. It was so fun to see you in Philadelphia. I'm so glad that you made the journey there. Share with us your takeaways. This was your first Diamond retreat, so I'm excited to hear about what your takeaways were.
Yeah. So I was a part of Kara's for Fit and Fearless last May. So that was kind of like my first official one. But this was my first Team Rockstar Fit one. And it was just insane that I actually got to go to Philadelphia and meet some of you for the first time and be around people that I've already known in the past. But I noted a few things. So one, you have to decide that you deserve a seat at the table. I remember last year when Amanda Hoig's my coach, she's on here now. When she went to the virtual Team Rockstar Fit retreat, and I just like, I didn't even know what she was going for. Like I didn't understand it at all, but I was like, but I want to be a part of that. Like, I don't know. They just like they're having a good time, and like she's happy, and it just looks fun. So like, I think that always sticks out to me is like, I didn't even know what I was missing, but like, yeah, it just is amazing. So back to my point, you have to decide that you deserve a seat at the table, and then you have to also be willing to work your ass off to get to the table, because it's not going to get handed to you. You have to be willing to show up every day, um, even when it's really, really hard, and even when you really don't want to, because that's when it matters the most. We talked a lot about how so many of us overcame obstacles to get there. I know like some of the girls, Kara and Amanda, they went live after I left Philadelphia about like, and they talked about the obstacles that they had to overcome to get there, but how worth it was, because surrounding yourself with those types of women is just like, it's like you come back to real life and you're just like, oh crap, like I have to go back to like work, or I have to like just be around negative people sometimes, and it's just like, yeah, it just reminds you of how special it is and like how lucky we are to have each other. um what else? Okay, so one other point is Amanda and I have been doing a coach mentorship with some of our PS coaches, and we just started this week. And the other day, we were talking about like our vision and whatnot, and I was typing up a response to one of the questions, and it literally just like came out of my mouth, and I didn't even think about it, but it just like came. First of all, I said, if we stop doing what we're doing, Beachbody's not going to stop what they're doing. So like, if we stop working out and we stop, if we stop working out and we stop eating healthy, and okay, Beachbody doesn't, like, they're like, whatever, like you do you, we're going to keep doing us. Okay, then on the flip side though, and what's even more important is that if Beachbody goes under tomorrow, we ain't stopping. Like we have a vision for the future. We have each other, most importantly. We have like we just have like our ideals. We have our values set in place. We know what working out does for our bodies. We know what the community has done for us. So I just like, yeah, that just hit me really hard the other day. I was just like, this team is everything, and I just have so much confidence like going forward and being able to handle things down the road because of this team. Okay, that's it.
So good. I remember one time I got in the car. I hadn't seen my aunt in a year. Okay, I get in the car. The first thing she says was, "What happens if this goes under?" Because Eric and I took all these leaps, and I was like, "Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a year, but great to see you." And I said, if that were the case, I don't see that happening. You guys, all these launches is a good sign, right? Like how all this stuff is going. Health and wellness is for life. Like Beachbody's been around for 20 years. It's amazing. Anyway, but say it did. The skills that I've learned are irreplaceable. The way I feel and tackle life, irreplaceable. Like where I am today, it's not the income. Like it's such a great part of it, but like so much more has happened because of it. Like I feel like I have limitless potential. I fell in love with personal development. Like there's just so many things I've learned about myself that it's worth it, right? And we can't play safe. We cannot play safe in life, because if we do, we don't get to fully experience it. By the way, when you're going for a goal, anyone who goes for a goal experiences the same emotions. You feel the exact same when you are stressed about a goal as you're excited about a goal, whether you hit it or not. If you hit a goal or not, you still go through the same roller coaster of emotions. You're being pulled in so many different directions. I like that. I'm like, so it's never really about hitting the goal. It's about choosing to like go for one, because you'll just feel the same way either way. Kim, go ahead and share yours, sister.
I was going to go last, but obviously you're ignoring your text messages. Maybe you not got it. Anywho, what was my top takeaway? I had so many fun takeaways. I got to see a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But I would say my favorite things were watching all of the new people be there for the first time, hands down. The time in the hotel room, just talking about life, all these videos. all the fun things, like going to get ice cream together, watching you all eat cookies, just like watching the whole thing. Just
welcome to Aldi's.
now you have to drop the link in the comments. But it was just so magical to watch, really bad word, but like offspring come and experience it for their own time. Right? Like, I don't know. It was just so much fun to see my coaches and their coaches come and just be in community and have fun and learn and grow. And that, I mean, like I learned a lot as well, content wise, but they're going to tell you all that fun stuff. The best part about being at these events is the time that you have together. Hands down, the best part is the time you have together, and the like candid times that you have together. Going to Ben and Jerry's and actually getting to eat ice cream because it's dairy free, and you know, like just the fun stuff that you get to do that you wouldn't get to do anyway.
So good. And I think too, like, it all takes sacrifice. My first few diamond retreats, it was money. Like, that was a huge, like, financial sacrifice, and then time sacrifice. And then even now, like, some of you are leaving your families, you're having to take off of work. And some of you missed your flights or had to reschedule. Like, that's a lot. But I don't think you're going to remember that in a bad way. You're only going to remember the memory. And so a lot of times when we're coming up to live events, you want to start talking yourself out of it. You sign up for Summit, and then the week before is when the most people cancel. The week before any trip is usually when people choose not to go. And it's because they start thinking about like all the stuff that they have to do and the burden that they feel about leaving, or like something like financially tight in their chest about it. And I'm like, it's only going to help your business grow if you're going in the mindset that it's going to do something for you. So that was really good. Amanda, go ahead and share yours. And then Erica, you're next.
So I think first, like the very best thing was seeing one of my coaches there, which was really awesome because so last year the virtual retreat was my first one, and I remember driving there. I was so nervous and like scared that I did not belong. And I remember texting Logan like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And he's like, no, like you deserve this. I'm like, you're right. Like, I know you guys are shaking your heads at me, but it's like, it's a mind game that we play with ourselves. And so just to see someone else overcome that and come with you is so, so awesome. But also just like live events in general are my favorite because a lot of my closest friends are on this team. And so like I live in Iowa, and I got to see a best friend from Texas, a best friend from Wisconsin, and a best friend from Arizona. And that is like the greatest thing ever. But one of my top takeaways, I really, really loved listening to Laura Otting, the author that we got to hear speak. And coming into this, I think what I wanted to get most out of it was, you know, like we know how to get to Diamond. We know what we need to do, but I'm not moving past that right now. And so I wanted to know what I need to do differently to level up. And so the number one thing that jumped out at me was leave people behind who don't want to ride the bus to where you're going. And for me, that's a lot of people that I surround myself in life in person. And that can be a really, really tough thing to do, is to leave those people behind. And that doesn't mean that I have to completely let go of friendships or relationships with my family, but I need to set more boundaries, and I need to set that time for myself and just make it clear that this is what I'm going to do. And I have goals that I'm reaching for. And if you don't want to support them, or if you don't want to do them, that's fine, but this is what I'm doing. So I got a lot out of the author. Kind of her theme, I feel like, was kind of all about that with her book Limitless. So I'm really excited to read it. I haven't started it yet. But yeah, I'm ready to I'm ready to level up. So I'm excited.
Okay, am I up? All right, so I was one of those people who was definitely thinking like the week before that I should probably just cancel and stay home. Just a little background. our niece was born and her baptism was the weekend I was gone, and we were godparents. So we missed all of that. Family came in from out of town, missed out on all that. So I was really sad about that. But it was so refreshing still to be at the retreat, to spend time with the team, and just to see each other in person is always so refreshing for me. And I take that for granted when I'm here in my house alone the majority of the time, but it's wonderful. And it really made me think about how can I bring this to my team and to my coaches, not just my diamonds. I got to have one of my coaches with me, which was awesome, but made me think about what can I do to do more things in person, get more contact with my team. So that was really a big takeaway for me. We talked so much about focusing on the team, and I'm really excited about that, diving into my team more. Joy Harrington had talked about growing people on your team. So just talking about really mentoring, getting to know your coaches and what makes them tick, what they want out of this, and not just what you want out of them and your why, but figuring out what theirs is. So I just feel like I came away with a renewed love for serving my people and fresh ideas to do that, but also listening to the leaders and how they've all done this in their own way also gave me confidence to build my team, not have to ask for other people's approval of what I do, but do it my way according to my morals and my values and what's important to me. So those are a lot of my main takeaways. Let me see if I wrote down anything else. I think that was the main stuff for me.
So good. I'm so proud of you and Amanda. And by the way, Erica joined not wanting to do anything to do with the community. She was like, I do not need that. I do not want that. And her transformation over the years has just been so awesome for her to be like, I need that. Like, I want to be there. By the way, so after hearing Amanda talk, and you're like, awesome, Julianne, like, I wasn't there. Now I have even more FOMO. Now I'm frustrated, or I was that person, Erica, who decided not to go at the last minute. Like, maybe you're feeling kind of like defeated by hearing this. That's not the point of this. And so what can you do about it? Like, what kind of posts can you make and put it out there? Like, man, my team, we just got off a call and we just talked about a retreat that I'm going to be at next year because I want to be. Like, how can you start thinking that way instead of thinking you can't? Thinking that you're too far removed. You're not. Like this, like what she said, like if you want to be at the table, either make the way or find the way. And Holly, right, and Kim and all these people are saying this. So with this Zoom, be inspired to be like, I've got to get to a live event and I need to stop breaking promises with myself about it and stop making excuses about it or reasons. Like Erica had legit reasons. Erica, I did not know that. I knew you had stuff going on, but not to like, you're the godparents. Like that's like the one like major thing to be at. Like that's a huge deal. Thanks for sharing that. And like share the sacrifice. Share the sacrifice so people know, because Amanda, when you're talking about you got to leave people, there are people who are not willing to sacrifice what you're willing to sacrifice. And the best people are going to get the way you work. And so that's what I have. Lacey, you're up, girl. And then Turner, you're next.
Because we're like the dynamic duo, I have decided. And actually, so I actually had a fun story this morning that linked directly into being in Philly. I was at the gym this morning, so if you can't tell, I'm living in a camper, and it's like 52 degrees in here, so I'm heading, yeah, it's awful. So I've been heading into the gym in the mornings, and I was in the shower at the gym, and I could like hear these girls in the locker room this morning, and I immediately became 14 and like super like heart palpitations that somebody's gonna like rip a shower curtain open and like, anywho. And like, as this is happening, I like flash back and I'm like, I spent the entire weekend with 70 some odd women and not a single like moment of it was catty. Like, I never once felt like I didn't fit in, which is usually where I'm at. Like, in the cattle world, I hang out with dudes 24/7. Like I can roll with guys all day long, but like you give me a girl to hang out with and like I don't know what to do. I'm gonna break it. I'll probably make somebody cry. I don't really hug anybody. So I just was reflecting on it today and how incredible it was to one, my flight got canceled the night before, and the three of us, Lindsay and Lauren and I, ended up rebooking into DC, renting a car and driving into Philly. And we spent the whole trip like together, which I typically need some alone time, but I spent the whole weekend with all these people and I feel like I've spent my whole life with them and it was amazing. And being at a live event, that alone was totally worth it to me. To the point where I like literally took Faye. I usually don't take other people's babies because babies are one, possibly contagious, and two, other people are very protective of them. But like Julian was trying to work out. I was like, give me your child. Like just give her to me. And that's me being very out of my comfort zone. And to me, that was worth the whole trip, was feeling like I am part of something so much bigger that I didn't realize until I got there. And so I think if you're on the edge of wanting to do a live event or get on a trip, like you gotta go. It will change your whole perspective on this thing. It's so much bigger than just getting people in shape, which is I love to do. I love changing people's outlook on their health, but being part of a community like this was something completely different for me.
Okay, so everyone's kind of talking about how in the past, like they didn't feel like they deserved a spot at the table or they like had to have that realization. So I don't think you know this, Juliana. Kim knows this for sure, and the girls in the room know this, but Friday, right before I was about to fly out, I was in Milwaukee returning my backpack at Brookfield Square. And my dad calls me, and basically it was this big blow up. And he's like, why are you not at work? Like, what are you doing with your life? Like, you're ridiculous. You're so immature, like all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I've told you about 6 times now that I'm going to Philadelphia. So this isn't news, first of all. But it was this big blow up. And I'm sitting at the airport waiting for my flight to leave. All I want is to get to Philly, to be with my girls, to just be surrounded by people that get me, because at that point I felt so misunderstood. I was like, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Like, I feel like I'm on the right path. Like, this is where I need to be, like all this stuff. And I honestly got so nauseous, which is hilarious because planes and I don't mix well. And I definitely was like, okay, like, should I go? Should I go and drive home? Like, honestly, I was doubting myself and wasn't even going to go to the airport. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, get your ass to Philly, get there, get around your people, and you'll be fine. But there was this moment for that like hour I was sitting in the airport of just doubt. Do I deserve to be there? Do I deserve the spot at the table that's there for me? Like, so if you're feeling like you don't know if you deserve that spot, trust me, I've been there. It sucks. But living in that like gross, yucky, I don't deserve this, this isn't for me, is not serving you. What's serving you is getting to the table and surrounding yourself with those people. So if you're holding back because someone doesn't believe in you or you don't believe in yourself, get around the people that do. I sat in that hotel room and was like so off. Everybody, it was crazy because I've been telling some of my friends that are not coaches, like it was weird. It was like everybody there knew I needed to hear that before I even told them what had happened. They were like, you deserve to be here. Look at you. You're here. You earned this. You rocked it. Like, you are meant to be here. And then later I had told them, yeah, so I was sitting in the airport and I almost didn't come. Like, I did not, like, there was this hesitation. And that just goes to show that I didn't need to tell them what my dad had said. I didn't need to tell them the doubts and fears I had, because they explained to me, they like affirmed, they like, I'm trying to think of all the words and it's like really stumbly, I'm sorry. But they just like reassured me that I was meant to be there and that I deserved a spot at the table. And I guess my biggest like takeaway from the entire trip was I might not always believe in myself even 3 years in, but this team will always have my back. Like, I know that I can call up Kim, call up Kara, call up Amanda, and they're going to talk some crap into me because that's what I need to hear, honestly. And it made me realize that I feel like for the last 3 years, it's been this journey of me figuring out how to lead others. Because for the longest time, I never saw myself as a leader. I never saw myself as someone that could be successful doing something like this. So coming back, I sat in the airport with Danielle, and we literally just worked on our business. We left a little early. We sat there for 4 or 5 hours and just grinded and made action plans and like actually took the notes. Like, you know, when you take all these notes on Zoom calls, like this one, and then you're gonna be like, I'm gonna do all the things. And then you don't do any of them. And you're like, crap, that was an hour. I said I was gonna do stuff and then never did. Like, it was actually the time that we needed to sit down and make an action plan and like make a list. And I can honestly say that this week I've come back, I've had one-on-ones with my coaches. I've gotten down to the basics again with them because that's just what we needed. Our team has been really off and on lately, and I've been feeling really off and on. So we just needed to get back to the basics and really just start over. And it's been the most refreshing thing because I've realized on that trip that I can be the leader I want to be. My leadership does not have to look like Julianne's, does not have to look like Kim's, does not have to look like Amanda's or Holly's. I get to be the leader I want to be, and that's what makes me special and unique. And that's why I needed to be there, because my leadership is different. So that's my biggest takeaway.
Good. I've never heard you speak with such confidence. And like, I think that sometimes when we're seeing and who we surround ourselves with as our mentors and our leaders, that we have to be like them. But I think my favorite thing is like, you know how like I always say, like, don't copy posts, because like your actual social media posts, like into team pages, whatever, but like you have your own voice. And I just feel that way with leadership as well. Isn't it interesting that people who aren't a part of this like breathed out into us and tell us what we should and shouldn't do? And then you come to this crew and then you're like, you can do anything. You deserve to be here, instead of tearing each other down and what Lacey was saying, like cattiness and all that stuff. That doesn't happen. And I just think that that's really, the people who quit are the people who withdraw from the team or never step in foot into being with the team. Like they never actually get on calls. And then the people who are always on calls and then they stop, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I see it all the time. Those people don't stick around, or if they do, they take a huge hiatus. The people who are forward thinking, movers in this, trailblazers in this, leaders in this, are ones who are showing up and then taking the action. A lot of people get super inspired, but it's the action from what you learn and just doing it, right? So good. Kara and then Danny, you two are next.
You want to be quiet? Are you going to be quiet? Okay, come here. Hi, guys. I am mommy again still. Okay, so I want to tell you a really short story. So when I got married, one of my high school friends was my bridesmaid. And when she sent me a thank you note for being in her wedding and for being in my wedding, which is kind of odd if you know her. She's just a very kind human. And one of the things that she told me, she like really stuck out to me. And she said, I wish I could love people the way you do. And like that came back to me this weekend because Joy Harrington, I went to NLC with her in February, and she like took off like a bullet after NLC. So if you guys don't know her, she's been at NLC, and she also made leadership, which means that she was a 5-star, and she hit elite this year in the same like 8 months within being diamond. So crazy, awesome, amazing human being. And she dropped some bombs about team culture, which what I've been struggling with in my life. 2019 has been such a crazy year. We remodeled our kitchen. We had a massive upgrade for my work, which I'm a branch manager. So I had a huge responsibility that my team was ready. And then literally 3 weeks later, we got news that my dad has stage 3 lung cancer. So to say 2018 has been a cluster, like there's just no words for it. So anyway, so my time has been very like sporadic. It has not been planned. It has been how I think and how I feel. And I know that I have to show up for myself, most importantly, because other people aren't well in my family and I need to be strong for them. So my biggest takeaway from this weekend, besides having my amazing team there, not all of you could be there, but we made the most out of it, and it was the best weekend I've had of the entire year. So thank you very much for that. I felt like the luckiest coach in the world because I got to spend it with my favorite people. So going back to Joy, sorry. So Joy spoke about team culture. And one of the things that she said, let's see here. She said, you don't grow in isolation. Think about growing. We're about growing the business, which means that you're growing people and you're growing your leaders. So I think Erica had mentioned this. Don't think about growing coaches to emerald to diamond. Think about what kind of value you're putting into them, and just know it's the boomerang effect, right? Like what you're putting out there, you're gonna get back. And I think where it hit me the most is that acknowledgement that I got 10 years ago from one of my good friends from high school is, I wish I could love people the way you do. And it clicked with me is I am not the most resourceful coach. I am not the most knowledgeable coach. I am not the coach that has been doing this the longest, but I had a whole hotel room full of coaches. And I'm very proud of that. And the one thing I kept going back to is that I love people. I love who I get to do this with. I love the people that maybe have one foot in, and then at these events, you can see them have both feet in. And like Amanda said, she's leveling up. And the two questions I want to leave you with tonight as you start to think about your journey is, before I get to that, you don't have to be great at everything, right? So if you're like me, where you're full-time worker, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're trying to identify those 6 roles, think about what you're good at and be fucking great at it. My 5-year-old's in the room. Awesome. Oh, good job. Anyway, 2 questions I want to leave you with. 1, what is your definition of success? This goes back to Laura Otting, the author of Limitless. She was talking about, and I made a post about this too, is your definition of success should not be your spouses, should not be your parents, should not be your bosses, should not be your pastors. It should be your own, because when you're aligned with your own definition of success, that is when you dig in, and that is when you don't let the burnout take you over. My second question is are you creating pain points in your life when you're comfortable? We live a pretty comfortable life. We remodeled our kitchen, we bought a van. I don't say this to boast. I say this because this was my takeaway on the sidebar conversation with Joy this weekend, is what things do you need to create for yourself in order to become uncomfortable to take more action? So it's easy for me to say I can make X amount a week and be okay with it. But I know that the goal of the definition of my success doesn't rest there.
All right, so I have to apologize, 1, because he's here, 2, and he's very sporadic, but 2, I have a cold, so bear with me. This weekend it was amazing. So everything that everyone's already said, you all rock. I am so grateful for meeting so many of you and just having that connection without ever officially meeting before. And like, that's just crazy to me to realize that I have best friends for the rest of my life, all because of this crazy fitness thing that we all decided to do. The biggest takeaway, I think I had a couple, but my biggest one is realizing that almost 99% of the things we talked about were things that Julianne, Kim, Trina, like all of our leaders, they have already taught us. They're already handing it to us. The difference is I really I drank the water, like it was in my face. I'm not gonna lie, I was bawling my eyes out. I felt like a goofball. And the best part though was, so it was right after Laura, the author of Limitless, spoke. She really dug deep in my heart and made me realize like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. Like I was made to do this and be here right now today with all these people, and I'm made to make a difference in other people's lives. And I need to remember that when I'm sitting there trying to send an invite and feel like the smallest person in the room, even though I'm by myself. But so I stood up right after and I was about to go into the bathroom, but then I realized if I go in the bathroom and cry, everybody else is in the bathroom and they're going to see me and I'm going to feel like a ridiculous person. So I stood up and Mariah had came over to me and Teresa Schrader had came over to me and I was like, oh my gosh, now like I even feel like an even bigger, like they're people I look up to, they're people I watch calls on or of, and I like aspire to, have their leadership. But like everyone else has said, like you need to make yourself the leader. Like you already have what you need. But instead of them being like, oh, it's okay, like you'll be fine, they're like, no, why are you crying? What is causing you to have this feeling? And I was like, it's nothing, like I'm on my period, like what, I made some excuse. I think I was, but whatever, like, but they were like, no, like what is it? And I was like, one, like I knew I'm meant to be here, like I just said, but even more, I know in a year, I'm going to have coaches there with me to do this with me, to feel what I'm feeling, to know that these last few weeks of being at work and really struggling with trying to find that passion of taking care of patients still, it's all worth it. Like I will never quit nursing, but there is one day that I'll be able to retire myself from my full-time job because I found that passion that I had for nursing in this. And it was just that overwhelming, like, this is it. I get to be home with that lovely little child who drives me crazy, but at the same time lights my heart up on fire. And that's why live events are meant to be. I don't know if any of or many of you know, but I know the girls that were there. It was like 2 weeks before we were supposed to go, and I wasn't gonna go because I'm not gonna lie, like my bank account was probably the lowest it's been in a really long time. And I didn't tell my husband that I wanted to go or that I qualified to go because I knew he would tell me I could go, but I didn't want to spend the money. I didn't want to go away from him.
No. You froze, Danny. That was so good. Aren't you guys like on the edge? Right at the good part. She'll probably get back on. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say about that. I remember having a moment like that at Summit, my first Summit, just going, I know I can do this and I'm going to make this happen. And then at my first Diamond retreat, I remember thinking, this is it. I can do this. And that's the decision that you have to make. That's the decision that you've got to believe. Like, I cannot express to you how much this has to do with belief. And the belief just doesn't happen. The belief takes time. It's not like all of a sudden you believe. It's just like immersing yourself with people who believe for you, that they know that you can do it. And then that makes you want to do it as well. Well, when she hops back on, we are for sure going to have her finish the rest of that story because it's like the cliffhanger of like, what happens next, Danny? Did you go? I don't know. Super good. Okay, let's go to Sherry. I believe you are next, if you're able. Go ahead and type, girl. I can narrate. I've got you. It was so fun meeting some of you that I haven't met before. Wasn't that powerful? We had so many people from, I think we had the most people there from our team. And I was super proud, like Kara, just like you were proud, Kim was like, I legitimately was like, this is so awesome because it just started with that vision. Danny's back. Danny, we were on the edge. Tell us, did you go to Philly?
Okay, so my computer, Morgan knows this, my computer likes to kick me out of Zoom. It has no other issues. I just bought it this year. I don't know what's wrong with it. Anyways, my rant. I finally one day, after everyone talking about it, after everyone bringing it up, I had this moment, like, and here's what's even more ridiculous. I felt guilty because Morgan couldn't go, that I didn't want to go. And she told me how ridiculous I was. And I just realized, like, I'm going to regret this even more if I don't go. Like, I can make money one day. That's not the point. Like, if that's really what's holding me back, if missing out on 2 days with this guy is going to make me miss out, that's ridiculous, because by me missing out, that's even more days that one day I won't be able to be home with him all day long. So go to live events, spend the money. It's worth every second, every dollar times 20 million.
So good. Oh man.